is Lydia Dorr, and I'm with Girl Scout Troop 3091, and I'm currently working on my Girl Scout Gold Award. For my project, I built 2 communication boards for the playgrounds at Carnahan Elementary for children who are nonverbal that go there. And I also wanted to create a presentation that spread information about communication boards and also detailed why we should consider putting them in parks and in playgrounds. So to begin, what is a communication board? A communication board is defined by Healthline as a device that displays photos, symbols, or illustrations to help people with limited language skills express themselves. And you can see 2 examples of communication boards on the slide. The communication board that I built for my Gold Award is a low-technology communication board and is only one type of AAC, or augmented and alternative communication. So where are communication boards used? Although we traditionally think of communication boards being used in schools, there are many different settings where people who have trouble communicating verbally can use communication boards. This, of course, means that they can be used in schools or also in hospitals or at home with families and friends. Who uses communication boards? Communication boards can be used to target many different disabilities or physical impairments that make it difficult for a person to communicate verbally. Some of these most of these are listed on the screen, such as stroke, autism, or learning delays or disabilities. How are communication boards used? So in general, communication boards or AAC devices can be used by pointing, gesturing, or looking at different icons and or words. Like I said before, the communication board that I created for the playgrounds at Carnahan is a low technology communication board, which is represented, which resembles like the one on the farthest right picture, where a student or child simply points at an icon and the person they're trying to communicate with will read that word that they're pointing to. We have a mid-level technology, which is often used on a device, and a nonverbal student or a person who has trouble communicating verbally can point or push a icon and the device will read it out for them. And then we have high technology AAC, which is used by people like Stephen Hawking, where he would look at the screen, the device would detect his eyesight and would indicate which words or letters he was trying to say or gesture to. So how do they help? Communication boards can help aid in clear communication of thoughts and ideas. When doing my research, I came across an article written by Paige Hayes, who is an occupational therapist and who also has a daughter that has trouble communicating verbally. In this article, she detailed her and her daughter's journey in getting her AAC and the benefits that came afterwards. Before her communication board, she said her daughter had become a master of charades. Her communication skills were not keeping up with her cognitive development and her need to communicate. This is often a difficulty faced by many nonverbal children. However, with communication boards, they can easily let their needs, wants, thoughts, and ideas be known to others without needing to communicate verbally. Furthermore, communication boards make it more likely that the students will communicate. An article published in the academic journal Perspectives showed there was an immediate increase in communication with low technology AAC. Furthermore, children can engage with peers with communication boards. In an article published in the journal Speech Language Pathology, there showed an increased communication among disabled and non-disabled students when using AAC. Finally, research done by the Institute of Communication, Culture, and Information Technology at U of T, Mississauga, showed that the use of AAC led to statistically significant improvements in the children's communication skills, social skills, attention span, and motivation. So given all of the ways that communication boards help nonverbal students, it makes sense that the reason for implementation or why we should put them on playgrounds pretty closely mirrors the reasons they help students. Again, we have the clear communication of thoughts and ideas. Paige Hayes said that before AAC, her daughter was struggling to communicate and was getting frustrated. And we all know how irritating it can be when you're not able to clearly indicate what you're thinking or what you're feeling. And this frustration that nonverbal students may feel may end up straining relationships with other peers. However, by having communication boards on the playground, we can help facilitate these interactions and mitigate frustration. Moreover, communication boards make it more likely that the students will communicate. Because students can act independently without the help of an adult, a teacher, or parent, they can more easily integrate themselves into the community. We all know how stinted conversation can be when a boss comes around or a parent comes around or a teacher comes around, and you're always trying to make sure you're not saying the wrong thing, you're not truly being yourself. However, with communication boards, children can act independently. They can express their needs and wants without the assist of an adult, and this will help facilitate conversation, help it flow more naturally. Finally, we can also have children. These communication boards can help children engage with their peers. The playground is where we learn our social skills, where we start to begin to understand our social norms. The Journal of Early Childhood Research showed that early interaction helped develop cognitive skills and had a positive effect on academics. While students who are able to communicate easily, these benefits are readily available, easy for them to obtain. However, students that may have more difficulty communicating can't easily get these benefits because they struggle to have those conversations with their peers. However, by having communication boards, we help facilitate those interactions, help integrate the students into the social environment of the playground, and they can help gain these benefits. They can help reap the benefits of this early communication. Another great reason for implementation is the boards that I created are low cost and time effective. So like I said before, this is my gold award, so it needed to be made completely by me. So it was a DIY project, but this board only cost me $35 to make for one board. I also took about 1.5 months to complete this project. While that may seem like a lot of time, you do have to remember I was working completely by myself. I had to create 2 boards, so this number is probably going to be a lot lower if the boards are mass produced or if groups are constructing the boards. Just to walk you through the process of what I did, I started out by sanding the boards, making sure I could paint on them, making sure that the kids wouldn't get splinters, because these were fence pickets, so they were pretty rough. I then cut the boards into slats and then primed them and traced icons on. Through communication with Carnahan, I got the general layout that they had used for their outdoor communication boards. I got the certain icons they wanted to use just to make sure the students were comfortable using the board. They were already pretty familiar with it. I then started to paint them. This was the most time-consuming process, but I really enjoyed doing it. It was actually kind of calming to get to do it every night. I varnished the boards to make sure they stood up to the weather. I varnished the front boards about 4 times and then the back boards about twice. And then with my very, very limited skills and knowledge in construction, I was able to put the boards together. Kind of shows that if I can do it, anybody can do it. And then here are the finished boards. You can see they're not even half the height of me, so it's not a large project. It won't take up a lot of the playground space, and it was relatively easy to make. It was fun to make. If made in a group, it would be a super simple project for them. It was just a lot of fun and really easy to make. So it's a good thing to consider, having materials donated, having a group make it, because it's really not that hard of a project. I just wanted to end the presentation with a quote said by my cognitive psychology professor, Robert Greene, during one of our development chapters. I believe it encapsulates why AAC is so important for nonverbal children and why we should consider putting communication boards on playgrounds. He said, "We don't learn language to get stuff," meaning we don't just learn to understand concepts like that's a chair or that's a desk, but we learn language because that's what it means to be human. We are the only species who use language in this way. It's how we understand each other and ourselves. For nonverbal students, AAC is their language. It's how they interact with their environment, with the people around them. For nonverbal children, AAC is their voice. Look back on your childhood. How would it be different if you didn't have access to your voice all the time? What challenges would you face? These are the difficulties nonverbal students encounter. Research has shown that communication boards have a significant benefit on social, cognitive, and academic skills because they give students an avenue to a type of language that works for them. By giving these students easily accessible and readily available AAC, we can help incorporate them into the social environment of the playground, which help foster these skills and make places of play more accessible for all. And I just wanted to thank you for coming to my presentation. Here are the citations I used, and I hope you consider putting a communication board in your playground. Thank you so much.